Good morning, everybody. 8:10 a.m., April 28th. Oh boy. So the market's falling apart right now. No deals are happening with Iran. Crude is up. Well, it was up over $101 a barrel earlier. The VIX is back up to 19.3. And OpenAI missed targets, revenue, new users, and that's taking down partners. Nvidia, AMD, Microsoft, but really getting hit hard is Oracle. So this is something you needed. Well, maybe that's not the right word. To take down this parabolic semi move. Okay? This is just how the market works. This is going to add gas to that fire now of, wow, if somebody was like, ooh, I want to get in semis, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay? I mean, Oracle's down 7%. AMD's down almost 6%. I am super glad I trimmed my position around the 350s in AMD. So get ready for some. I think we're gonna have some fireworks. Definitely, volatility should amp up. The volume's up. It's crazy markets again. Yesterday was pretty turtle-like tempo. Pretty turtle-like. And I had two longs. Waited all day. Finally got a setup. In the first setup, I went long. It was going in my favor, and I actually added a contract, which made my cost basis a little higher. And then I just went to break even. I didn't trust it too much. And then I got another pullback. I went long again. I moved my target from overnight highs to a little higher so I could take it off if I saw, and the move went so quickly that I didn't get to capture the whole move. And I moved my stop up and it nicked me. So my whole thesis yesterday, I can show you here. Okay, yesterday. So remember the lighter shaded area is overnight activity. You can see we're gapping down pretty big right now, right? But this is yesterday. And now there's a stat. Okay, here's a stat. Let me break this out. So that's the price action, right? And we did not take out the overnight lows. There's the overnight lows right here, right? There's yesterday's session. And once we came up and we were holding the previous day's highs, I was all about that pullback to get long. And you had a poor high up into the session, which I was like, this is like going to break the highs. And 97% of the time, I talked about this pre-market, one, all-time highs, overnight highs are not secure. Number two, 97% of all regular trading hours hit the overnight highs or overnight lows 97% of the time. So that stat was fulfilled again. It's very rare that does not happen. It's very rare. Okay. So, needless to say, another positive day. There wasn't really my first scenario did work out when we let's see here. Let's see here. Right here in the SPY, let's say. This pulled back into demand, and then I was like, ooh, okay, this could be a long, and then news came out. And then I almost got long again, I think on this pullback, but I wanted a deeper one, and that was what ended up being it. Okay? Now, like I said, This market's kind of nuts right now, right? Crude staying around $100 a barrel is really not good for the anybody. Okay, so let's see what we do today. Okay, let's see. All right, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steve Gonzalez. I use market profile and bond profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposed levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That's how I come up with game plans. Now, once that market opens, I use my market internals. All right, that lets me know the strength under the hood of the markets. Along with that, anchor VWAPs, weekly expected move, which you get for free on my Discord, along with the gamma flip points you get every day in my Discord for free. Okay, and then throw in a little ICT smart money concepts in there, but basically it's my own system. Okay, my own system. All right, and hopefully join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. Give it a market story, the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I leave you at the end of the stream with my ES and Nasdaq long and short trade scenarios. Now, if you want to get more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay, let's get right into it. Futures. VIX up 7%. Okay. Crude is up 4.3%. Over $100 a barrel again. Dollar is up 0.34. The 10-year yield is back up 0.32. The Dow is up 0.16. Now the Dow is up. Let's see here. I know there was a couple earnings. GM had good earnings. Let me see here. Why did that leading? Chevron, Exxon are up. Let's see, McDonald's is up. Salesforce is up. United Healthcare. Little couple safety plays, but not Salesforce is not a safety play. Let's see. 30-year bonds. 30-year bonds are getting sold. That means yields go up. Ethereum down 0.5%, ES down 0.67, Bitcoin down 0.78, Russell down 0.78. And here's the big loser: Nasdaq down 1.24%, gold down over 2%, silver down almost 3%. All right, let's move on. Berkshire Hathaway, okay, more of a safety kind of play, up 0.81. Apple up 0.65. Netflix up 0.62. So they're not getting hurt by OpenAI news. Okay, they're not getting hurt much by oil. Eli Lilly had a little bit of a bloodbath. Bloodbath. I can't say that. Let's see here. And Google is down 0.61, Meta down 0.86, Microsoft down 1.18, Amazon down 1.34. But here we go. Coinbase down 2.4, and Broadcom down 4.6%, 4.69. AMD down over 5.5%. Okay. AMD was on a meteoric parabolic move last week. Okay. Moving on. Top sectors. There we go. Exxon up 1.92. Chevron up 1.82 with crude. McDonald's up over 1%. Costco up 0.97. Salesforce up 0.79. Johnson & Johnson, this is all safety plays besides Salesforce, up 0.74. Home Depot up 0.54. Down 1%. Caterpillar. NEM mining stock down 2.33. GE Vernova down 3%. Glad I trimmed that as well. Qualcomm, they're down 3.61, and the big loser, Oracle. They share a lot of partnership with OpenAI. That's why they're down. Let's go into the granular. Okay, looks like Coca-Cola reported earnings. Occidental Petroleum, that's energy, another energy stock. EOG, Sherman-Williams, but let's see the laggards here. I guess Walgreens Boots Alliances should not be there anymore. ARM Semi down. Spotify reported earnings, I believe, down 8.36. CoreWeave tied to OpenAI down 7.24. Marvel Semi. Look at that. Iris Energy. I think that's always forget Cloudflare, Arista Networks. Oklo, UPS had earnings, but they were poor as well. So that's the bloodbath going on right now. Moving on sectors. No shocker, energy is up 1.74. Staples, remember I said Staples was getting a little bit oversold? Up 0.72. Financials up 0.39. Healthcare up 0.26. Healthcare has actually also been getting a little pushed lower. All right, now you're getting a little bit of a bounce here in the markets, and I don't know what that's about, but that candle's pulsating. Discretionary down 0.36, technology down 2.21%, semis down over 3.5%. Semis down over 3.5%. Let's get into the economic calendar here. Let's see here. ADP employment change weekly. Okay. 10 a.m. consumer confidence. 10 a.m. consumer confidence. That's what you got going on there. Now, Trump. What do we have for good old Trump today? President and First Lady participate in a greeting with the Majesty King Charles at United Kingdom. Okay, they're doing a lot with the First Lady and the Majesty, President, First Lady Trump, President and First Lady. Okay, not sure how much we're going to hear from him today. Let's see the juice. Breaking: UAE decides to exit OPEC. Whoa, whoa, whoa. UAE decides to exit OPEC. Interesting. Interesting. Alrighty. Now here's the news on. Well, before I get into that news, let's get into earnings. Yeah, earnings. All right. So this morning, UPS, Coca-Cola, Spotify, GM. GM I know had good earnings. Hilton. After the close today, Hood, Bloom Energy, Seagate, Visa, Enphase. That's your solar. Mondelez. I believe Mondelez is like Corona beer. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. All right. Tomorrow before the open, SoFi, Humana, that's healthcare, Regeneron, and AbbVie. Okay. Moving back over to here. OpenAI. This is why semis are down. OpenAI recently missed its own targets for new users and revenue. The Wall Street Journal has reported, sparking fears over how the AI startup will be able to support its massive spending plans. Whew. Says the news dragged down shares of companies linked to OpenAI. Oracle, OpenAI's biggest cloud computing provider, slumped by more than 6%, while peer CoreWeave shed over 7%. Larger partners Microsoft and Nvidia were lower as well, and Japanese conglomerate SoftBank Group, which has committed to massive investments in OpenAI, fell by 9.86%. Whew. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. Now, let's get into some more news. Okay, GM core profit rises 22% on strong U.S. truck sales. Big tech investors to gauge payoff as AI spending set to hit $600 billion. Google signs classified AI deal with Pentagon. Purdue Pharma to be sentenced, paving way for opioid settlement. I think that's all that I'm going to talk about here. Yep, moving on. Moving on. Let's go to the market internals. My bread and my butter. My bread and my butter. All right. So, yesterday, semis were weak. Very weak at one point. But Nvidia was charging ahead yesterday. And technology finished the day up. Financials finished the day up. Okay. You did have weakness. Okay. Pretty much all day, but that's not very weak. You minus 96 is not very weak, but look at the equal weight was very divergent. But remember, equal weight does not move our markets. Market cap weight does. Okay. That's why you moved up. Okay. I always keep saying the bulls have the momentum. I don't know about now, but we'll see. We'll get into the levels. All right. We needed a little life put into this market. Yesterday was like a turtle. Okay. Now you can see these readings here are very benign readings. Right. Hence the moves. Horrible. Okay. Moving on to the daily charts. Okay, so what did we do yesterday? Right? We closed at new all-time highs and broke last week's highs. So it looked all good, right? Now where are we at? 709. Ooh boy. 709.80s, let's say. Right here. So, gapping down. You're at the lower portion of Friday's range. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. You still not have hit this 90 MA daily, even right now. Okay. You always hit it. It's just a matter of time or price. Now, it's the reversion back to a mean. All right. Now, let's go to futures. Futures. And now we can extend this sucker. This demand. Okay. Futures. Look what we did. We swept yesterday's highs. Okay. I would say today we're definitely most likely going to hit the 71.34s. And then if we take that out, guess what, folks? The 70.90 demand here has a real chance to get taken. And then you got last week's lows. Okay? Look at this friggin' balance. Right? Look at that. This is not like meteoric rising. Look at that. And then look. Woo. Woo. Okay. Moving on. Qs. Qs. That's kind of weird. Why does that say that? That's interesting. Okay. So. Ooh. Ooh. Let's see here. 655. All right. So what did we do yesterday? All right. So right up against Friday's close, you tapped last week's highs in the Qs. Friday's highs. Okay. Remember, that was relatively weaker yesterday because of semis. 650, let's call it 55, 655, 655. We're at 655. Okay. Now, you just took out yesterday's lows and you took out Friday's lows. Right now, pre-market, you're down here. Oof. Wow. Okay. This was bound to happen, folks. I kept talking about how frothy we were. You just never know when the timing hits. Futures. Futures. Now, remember I said there's a little bit of a daily demand here, right? Let's extend this out. We're in the daily demand. And it's still falling. Okay? People are exiting. People are exiting. Happy futures. Miss Rosa Daza. Miss Rosa Daza is trying to become a futures trader, I think. I am not sure she's going to do it, though. It might be all talk. It might be all talk still. All right? And this is honestly what I've always wanted to see her do. She has a very big risk appetite. And I can't wait to see how when she tells me she loves it. And I can't wait for a big profit because she will get it. And then she'll think, I got it. Then she'll understand how it is to be a futures trader. So we will see if she starts. All right. So Nasdaq pulling into this level. Now I said this is a futures level, so we're definitely going to hit this level 26992 is called the 270s in the Nasdaq. Okay. Remember, this is going to get fueled. Why? All right. Let's go to semiconductors. Parabolic. That's a parabolic move. Okay. Very poor foundation. Maybe we could even give a shout out to Alfie here. There he is. There he is. Okay? Because this move is not sustainable. It's not. Okay? I kept talking about it. I said, don't be dumb and be smart and short the momentum. Not yet. Because you just never know. Markets can be irrational longer than you could say solvent. Okay? That's very true. Because each time you go up and someone tries to be smart, you get smoked. And if you aren't smoked and you pick the top, then I'm going to say you're lucky. Okay? So it was just a matter of time. And now we had a news catalyst today to take care of this poor structure. Let's just look at the pre-market here. Let's go to a 1 hour. Let's go to a 1 hour. Let's see what we're doing here. Oof. Look at that candle in semis. All right. So what I would say is you got support in semis around 475s. Okay, 475s. Look at that poor structure. This should get all cleaned up today. Okay, all cleaned up. This is a 4 hour chart. Let's break it down to let's go to a 1 hour. Woof, woof. All right, folks. Poor structure all the way down to like here, 475, 480. So this is profit taking, folks. That's why I got it of AMD. I'm like, all right, it could go higher, but I'm all right with taking some profits. Okay, let's look at XLK this morning. Oh yeah, woo, oh boy, almost a double top here, and for murder. And let's just get rid of all this. Whoop, this exuberance. You can go probably down to a previously weekly high, maybe even down to 155s in XLK. So this is exuberance, folks. That's all it is. There's not much support. All right? Those are the losers. All right, let's just look at the AMD. Woof. Woof. Remember, that was last week's highs. It was up to 357. Poor structure. Let's give a shout out again to the Elfie. Elephant on a toothpick. It always kind of ends up the same. Okay? And then we're going to look at breadth. So let's go back here. Let's go back to the breadth. All right? Right here. Smell that breath of the market. Yesterday, pulled back a little bit, folks. 50%. 50% of the market's above the 50-day moving average. 50% of the market's below the 50-day moving average. Okay? Very, very middling. Now, RSP. Remember, this is the equal weight. This just gives you how this market is doing when we don't move on market cap. Look at that. No all-time high. Almost hit it, but didn't. Right? And you know our SPY and QQQ do not look like this. Okay? Purple. Okay. All right, folks. Let's move on to the hourlies. I don't know. Miss Daza doesn't really go to the streams anymore. I'm welcome to see her here today. Very busy woman. All right. Woo boy, let's look at these hourlies. Woo boy. Look at these hourlies. My. Oh boy. That's why it's very hard to be a swing trader currently. Okay? Because there's so much headline risk. Let's get into it. This is your hourly charts, folks. Hourly charts. And we are going to start here by taking some of these swing points off. These liquid levels that we've already got through. Oh, I forgot one here. Let's see here. There's one right here. Okay, we're now. All right, let's look at this together. Okay, so most traded price of the week, the 71.93s. Most traded price of the month, the 71.60s. Price is below that now. Now, when you have these close together, that is ultimate balance. So, what you want to look for today is if we can find acceptance below the 71.60s. And then you have a major level here around the 71.36s, 35s. You break that. You see that little friggin' toothpick here? There's not much holding the market back from going all the way down to 70.90s. Okay? Now, what do I expect? You're in a major demand zone here by the edge of ultimate balance. So I expect to get a little buying here. I expect it. Okay? What am I also going to add right now that I'm looking at it? I'm going to add a supply zone right there. Whoop. And coincidentally, right on, is that? Right on the most traded price of the week. That's where, poof, and the week to date anchor VWAP right there. And then you went zoom right through all those levels. Now, crude is at, crude's pulling back a little bit. It's at 100. It was over 101 earlier. Okay. So, daily candle, bearish. 4-hour candle, bearish. We're in heavy demand. So this is where I have rules when I trade, right? I don't short in major demand. Okay? And this is where, when you have experience, you just know. Well, it's like, think of it a hot stove. Are you going to put your hand on the hot stove? Doesn't make sense. Okay? So, I have to wait now to see what we do in this area. You usually do get some type of, if the market holds under here, breaks, I have to say this. It's very hard for me to shorten here. Now, if there's a scalp in here, possibly. But see this traffic? That's something that's going to hold the market. Okay, unless another news catalyst comes out, right? So, the job today is to see, what do we do with the 71.60s? Do we pop above it and stay inside ultimate balance, right? Do we hold below it, right? And what you would probably want to do, and you have to be patient, is see if we take all this out and then get some type of premium to retest it, right? And that's probably the short. Okay. That's how the market works. The market never just does this, right? It doesn't do that. It doesn't move in straight lines, right? Wish it did. Trading would be much easier, right? Okay. And now we're leaving behind here a bearish for value gap, right? And you always have to look at that as both ways. If it's resistant, like this, if we did this and whoop, that's a short, right? Because now you're getting resistance in an area that should not be resistant. And if you do this with strong internals, this can get ripped apart. Okay? Just look at our little volume profile. Let's just put a visual on this. Okay? We'll start from right here. Let's just look at what we're looking at here. Okay? So a lot of volume in this area, right? That's the value area. We're below the green value area in the highlighted here. Okay? That's value area. So now you're at like below value area low, which would normally be a buy, right? If I'm selling a house and it's at the value low, I'm going to want to buy it. Hence, you're in demand. If we go back up into here, the value area high into heavy supply, that might be the chance you could sell your house at a value area high. Okay? Alrighty. Moving on to the Nasdaq. To the Nasdaq. Woof. Remember, the Nasdaq was relatively strong, but we're in a major demand. Okay, we just took out a swing low. Okay. Now, I'm also going to put, we do have some supply right there. Right there. I'll put that there. You're probably going to have a bearish FVG right here. Okay, now where are we? Right? The market always moves like this. It's not a shocker. Look at all this traffic. Hence, the big major demand zone. So the market should have problems moving here unless there's some big news catalyst. All right, normal markets can't rip through these areas. It just doesn't work. Okay, doesn't work. Now, what I would say today would be most likely if the market stays weak on semis and it becomes, okay, profit taking time, this short probably will be a better, easier ride in the NASDAQ or the QQQ. Okay, the level to watch is the end of this right here, around the 270s. Let's just call it to make it easy. You lose the 270s, you do not have that great a structure right here. Then you have this equal low right here, and your most traded price of the week is 26730. See, we're not in ultimate balance in the NASDAQ. The most traded price of the week did move up to about the 274s, but now we're below that. Okay, we're below that now. So, like I said, I expect most likely a bounce. How strong? I don't know. I don't know. But now, this heavy trading up here, this heavy trading up there, and now look, right? Lower high, and just really broke that high a little bit. And now you have heavy supply up here, supply, right? So you have a lot of overhead supply. So if you get a burst where you get some buying and you're like, boop, right in here, you want to see how this reacts because that could be your premium to sell in short. And you target the 270s. And then below that, you can go for the 26730s. That's how the market works, okay? It works like this every day. Now look, you're getting some buying. Look, you just went through a liquid level, right? Right there and here. I expect buying in a major demand zone. Okay, and it's not magic when you come in here where it's like, oh, this is going to rip. And no, it's not how it works. But generally, if you wait enough, oh, well, it is a major demand. Okay, so don't go off shorting and thinking you're smart. Okay, shorts always think the smart. It's smart. It's sneaky. Trust me, I've been there. It feels good to short and make money. All right, but it's a lot harder. All right. Now let's look at the profile. We'll go from right here. Let's just see how that shakes out. Value area. So we're below value area, right? All 70% of trading has happened in this area. Okay. Now look, we got lower volume pocket right here. And then a high volume node right here. That's where price is. That's why a lot of volume starting to pick up right here. Okay. So, what are we going to look at today? 270s. 270s needs to hold. This major demand needs to hold. Okay. See if we can do it. Let's extend this out. Let's just see what it looks like. We'll extend that all the way to here. Boom. Okay. Now you can see this is actually a good visual of how the markets work, right? So look, big high volume node, right? That makes sense, right? Look at all the trading there. Look at all the trading there. Now look, what did I say about this demand zone? Well, why? Why is it a demand zone? Oh, that's right. Look at the high volume that is there. And in this bigger, this is at value area lows right here. So this is a buying opportunity. And then you have what we like to call a low volume node, an LVN, which is right here. Now, if when you drag out an LVN, it's going to be a pivot point. It's going to be a support and resistance level with a little volume. And how they work is they act as support and resistance, or they get blown apart. Okay, so why is that? Well, look, resistance, right? Resistance and then support. That's a pivot level. And look, it got blown through. Shoot. Sometimes it doesn't. And now how I can show you that is here. Look at this low volume node. Notice how that was support. It didn't get blown through and the market ripped up. Okay? This is how you use volume profile. So this is why the market should not blow through this level. Look at all of the volume. Right? And it's this is how markets mechanics work. Okay? Markets make bases. And then guess what? Where the vola volume is. The market moves to what? Establishes another high volume area. And then does what? Moves. Right? If we had another large volume area here, this would not be moving like that. It's very symmetrical. Look. Volume basing, trend. Volume basing, trend here, trend again. That's how the market works every time. Right? But if you're going to stare at a 1 minute candle or something smaller, you're going to get tricked. You're going to get tricked. Like a magic, like the famous magician, Mr. Romano, the amazing Romano. Not sure if you guys are familiar with that magician. Rosa Daza is. Okay? That might be a little inside joke. Not everyone's going to understand that. All right? Mr. Romano's probably in his bed. But probably Mr. Martinez is watching, most likely. We'll see. All right. Let's go to the market profile, volume profile. Here we are. Now we are gapping down. We are gapping down. Okay? You can see the single prints. That's emotional. Emotional selling. Taking out these lows, right? And now look where we went. Almost to this day's lows. This would be Friday's lows. Is it? Am I lying? Am I making that up? Is that Friday? 4/24? I believe it was. Yeah. Okay. And look what's the volume. Overnight VPOX right here. All right, so let's break this out. Let's just get ready for this. ES, long and short trade scenario. Let's break it down. Okay. Boom. Okay. Now, first thing we do with gaps, what do? Mark off the gap fill. Gap fill would be 71.77. Here's your gap fill. There's your gap fill, and that's a horrible line, so let's redo it. Okay? Gap fill. Second, you want to mark off two things. Okay? The midpoint of the overnight is 71.86. Midpoint of yesterday, 71.94, which happens to be the most traded price of the week. Okay? Now, we are in a major demand zone, starting around 71.61s. Major. Thicker border is major. Hence why we're not just ripping this apart. Okay? So, let's get into it. Believe it or not, I'm going to start with a long. Okay? So, longs. We're at the most traded price of the month right now. Remember, the 7160s, the most traded price of the month. Again, that's why we're stalling. So, if the most traded price of the overnight is right here, and you move away from that, these are shorts. You're going to get a nice push up. Okay? So, what would I like to see? I would like to see buyers step in right here. And then I want to see a pullback in testing around the 7164s. Any pullback in here. And let's just say tech and semis are leading off the open. Well, welcome to your long setup. And you're going to go long here, okay, on a retest of the 7160s. And you're going to target this supply zone around 7186 and then 7195 is the most traded price of the week. I think that's what you get. Okay? You got poor structure here that you can rip up. Now, this means that the internals have to be, people have to be flowing money into tech. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know. Okay? The other long that I would say that I'd be interested in if we gap in gold, right? So I would like to see this flush through overnight lows, 7147s, then come up to this major support of 7136s right here. Even if we did a little dippy dip and then we recovered, put in a higher low, now where's my target? I'm going to target the 7160s. Okay? Anything over that's gravy, but that's all I'm interested in. Shorts. Shorties. Okay? Now, what am I going to say before? I want to look for a premium to sell at. I am not excited to short anywhere in here at all. Okay? So, look, you have single prints here. This will be a bearish FEG. So, what I have to say is, you have our gap fill. And I should have put that as one of the targets earlier. Okay? Gap fill. Right? Now, in a short, the most easiest trade is you push back up into gap fill, reject, get the lower high, you target the 7160s, then you go for the overnight low, 7147s, and then try out that 7136 support of that demand zone. Another short, okay? You come up, fill the gap, then go into supply, and you might battle the 7195s. If you get rejected, okay, retest the 7190s, you short that, okay, targeting the 7160s, then the overnight lows, 7147s, and then try the 7136s. That's it. That's all I'm interested in. Okay? I do not want to short in this demand zone. It's just not a smart short. Nasdaq. We're also in a major demand zone. Okay? Now, we are gapping down. Let's get into the long and short trade scenarios in the Nasdaq futures. Let's do it. Let's do it. Look at that little baby session yesterday. My Lord. 475 point range in the overnight. My Lord, that is a monster. Yesterday's session was only 153 points. Wow. Wow. All right, let's mark off some levels. All right. Gap fill, 27298s. 27298s. You're way away from that. Okay. Then you got the midpoint. It's right by it, so I'm not going to have to draw that. Okay. Then you got support here at around the 270s. We're in major demand. That starts at 27154s. Okay. Now, let's get into scenarios here, and I'm going to start with the long. Definitely think there's probably going to be some type of buying. Shorts taking profits with people trying to buy the dip. Okay. So right here, okay, overnight VPOC is around 271s. Right there. We know most likely they're shorts. Okay, so what would I like? Push up, right? And a pullback to the 271s. If you get some support here, you go long. Okay, you target start of this supply around 27252s and see if you possibly can fill that gap at 2798s. I'm not sure how much more you get than that. Now, just like the ES, if we push down, break those overnight lows, go towards the 270s, right? Even if we sweep it, you push up, get a lower high. I want this to be quick though. This cannot be a long, dragged out thing. You go long. Okay? You go long and you try to hold on. Okay? Try to hold on and try to clean up these single prints and look for that 27252 supply. That's all I'm interested in. Now remember, when the market opens up, I will probably have another plan where I'll see that, oh, this is driving the market. Tech is weak. Tech is strong. This is blah, 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 blah. We don't know what's going to be driving, right? I don't know. Shorts. Okay. So, I want to push up if I want a short. Okay, so we know there's a bearish FEG right in here. Any failure to fill that gap in this area around the 272s, and then you boop, make that higher low, lower high, I'm sorry, you're going to target overnight lows, 27036s, then the 270s. I don't know if you can break that today. We'll have to see. That would be a good trade. Okay. Now, if you get the bigger push and you clean up that structure, you have supply here. Now, maybe you race up, fill that gap, 27298s, right? People take profits. You get a lower high. You short that puppy. Target overnight lows, 27036s, and then the 270s. Okay, if we break this, yes, this could be a move lower, right? Down to the 26730s. I don't know if we do that. Okay? I'm not calling for it. Could it happen? Maybe. Okay? But I think the easier trade right now is probably a short. A little bit. I think you're going to get some push up here. Now, large gaps aren't the easiest to trade. They're not. They're notorious for being hard to trade. Individual stocks are easier. Okay, so that's a little warning, even for myself. That's it for me, folks. Now, let's get my overall take on the markets. Okay. So, what do we have? We have crude. It's back under $100 a barrel. Okay, but crude has been moving higher. That's one. Second, OpenAI missing target revenue users is a problem for NVIDIA and the semis. That's a negative for tech. Also, semis have been parabolic. I've been calling for the exuberance to finally, one day, we're going to see it fall away. And it's starting to. Okay? It's starting to. And the other thing is, we just fell into major demand zones in the ES and the NASDAQ, which are not great places to short. Okay? They are not. We're actually bouncing out of them now. Okay? So, is the buyer still strong today? And they're going to just rip the market back up? Maybe it will. I don't know. Okay? So for right now, it's early longs, followed by, if we get a movement up, and we get what I like to call a premium, right? Because if you're going to sell something, you want to sell it at a premium. that could be a nice short. But I would warn against shorting in these demand zones. Okay, let's see how this shakes out, because tomorrow we have FOMC. Okay, and what I could see also is huge earnings tomorrow. This could be a mini sell-off, which could turn into we trade above the 7160s today and in between the 7200s and the 7160s. We could range because now we just sold off with this news. We're pricing it in, and it might be all right. Let's move sideways for FOMC tomorrow. Okay, so that's my overall take on the markets. All right, lot to digest. Okay, all right, folks. That's my analysis. Smash that like button if you enjoyed that analysis. I hope you did. All right, I hope you did. And why don't you subscribe, set that alert. I do this every morning. Give you the market story, market news, economic calendar, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the Nasdaq futures. Okay. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you are going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Let me be your indicator. Okay? I will not steer you wrong. Trust me. I will not get thrown off by price action. I won't be overreacting to price action. Okay? I stick with my internals. I know how the markets move. Okay? And don't get me wrong. I still got a little bit of a FOMO in me. It's not very strong like it used to be. Okay? It's a lot duller than it used to be. I don't look at every move as an opportunity, and you shouldn't either. Trading's not about opportunity every second. It is not about that. All right? Now, we have our plans. Okay? Hope everybody has a green day. Hope everybody understands no trade is a trade. Sitting on your hands is a position. And remember, if somebody tells you they got edge, right? You think about he's got edge. He sees this all the time. That's his setup, right? But also, the edge is, guys, I don't see my setups. I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like this. That's your indicator to use your edge to say, I'm not trading right now. Okay? Edge isn't always trading. Edge is also not trading. Remember, we're risk managers at the end of the day. So, am I going to put money at risk when I'm kind of like, I don't know, everybody, maybe I try this here, but I'm not liking this. Like, why would you put your money at risk? Now, have I done that? Of course. Because you want to play. I get it. You want to play. You want to play. You want to play. Okay? But the older I get in trading, the more you just get more seasoned and more like okay with waiting. Because it's a waiting game. Okay? So, hopefully I see you in my Discord. Should be going live around 9:45 a.m. Hope to see you there. All right? Ask questions. Join a little community I have going. All right? If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.